back to the offensive lineman. I had a former Bronco, a very well-known former Bronco.
Shannon Sharp.
I didn't say that.
I know you didn't. I'm guessing.
A couple of days ago, sent me a message after watching the game on Friday night and said, not convinced Sambrailo's the answer at left tackle. Do you think there's some pretty good names out there without teams, and they got various problems? They might be coming off an injury, like a Chris Long or somebody like that. Do you think that this offensive line that we'll see this weekend, do you think that's going to be the offensive line game one of the regular season?
You mean the starters or the entire offensive line? Yeah. Here's what I think is going to happen. And so tell your famous Bronco and people who've written you, they're going to put a tight end over there to help him.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you think that?
Yeah, and they did it quite a bit on Friday night against Seattle.
They're going to put tight ends.
In fact, sometimes there were two guys on the left sideline helping him out.
Yeah, and they're going to play two tight ends a lot. I think a lot of situations are two tight ends.
Or tight end and fullback on the left.
Yeah. So he's going to get help. And I don't think there's any doubt going into the season that they're going to help him as much as they possibly can.
Don't you find yourself saying, look, Gary Kubiak and John Elway are pretty smart guys. If they feel this Super Bowl contending team with a 39-year-old quarterback can make it work with 3 rookies on the left side of the line, don't you have to kind of let it play out? Don't you have to put some faith in Kubiak and Elway until they give us reason not to have faith?
Don't dismiss Rick Dennison, because Rick Dennison has been a line coach for a long time. He's been a coordinator for a long time. Dennison's never gotten a chance. He actually interviewed for the job here before John Fox, maybe even Josh McDaniels. I think he interviewed before the Josh McDaniels. Yeah,
for head coach.
He was here, so and Josh McDaniels was getting rid of him. So I think that Dennison has a lot of input on the offensive line. I think he has more input on the offensive line than he really does on quarterback, and because they got Knapp, a really good former offensive coordinator. How many offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators does this team have? Guys that have been head coaches before. I know I'm going away from. We'll get back to the offensive line in a little bit.
Dennison.
Because this is an interesting thing.
Wade Phillips. Studesville, who was an interim head coach.
Knapp has been an offensive
Knapp has been a coordinator.
And there's one other. Well, there's a couple of guys that were offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators in college ball. Kolar was the defensive coach, has been a coordinator in the
college
past.
level.
Yeah, there's about 7 coaches on this team. When I looked
it up, good staff from what I can tell.
Yeah, over 225 years of coaching experience on the college and professional level. So I think you have to include Dennison in that mix. Going back to the offensive line, I think he spends a lot more time with the offensive line than he does with Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, because Knapp is the guy who spends all the time with Manning now. Used to be Adam Gase when he was the coordinator here. Now it's Knapp, the quarterback's coach, while Dennison is doing other things.
You know what Gase told me? And I've become pretty good friends with Knapp. And he's a guy that keeps a low profile, doesn't ever be quoted.
Never talks to the media.
Never does, but he's a neighbor of mine. I'll get it out there. And he's actually a very pleasant guy who I'd asked to speak to him and he didn't want to talk in the past, but he's pleasant away. Yeah. Like a lot of guys, like Shanahan, let's say that. Shanahan was always a hard, crusty guy to a lot of people.
Right.
And he could kind of have some humor, but away from football.
Regular guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great sense of humor.
Yeah. And Knapp's that way. He wants to concentrates on football, and then when he's away from football, he climbs Pikes Peak. And I'm not talking about in a car. He climbs Pikes Peak with his family. Good guy. So Gase told me last year that Knapp didn't get the credit he deserved. He said, Knapp is the guy that kind of kept them level-headed. He said, he and Manning were going off on tangents and they'd go off track like I do, and Knapp would bring them back. He said, he's the guy that keeps everything level, that during the game, he's the guy who's not excitable.
Yeah, he's not, you watch him at practice, he's not a screamer. He just sidles up to Peyton. They have a conversation. It's a little animated because Peyton's an animated guy, but he's kind of the quarterback whisperer right now.
Les and Woody with you, and the Harmony Foundation, and I feel so strongly about what they're doing up there because a good friend of mine, his one of his family members was up there, and he's been clean from his addiction for a year and a half. And when I've talked to those people, and I played in their golf tournament, they work so hard at trying to help people, not only in Colorado, with your addictions, drug, alcohol, and they have had an 85% success rate of those who have come there that have stayed clean for at least a year and a half. And they told me, and I emphasize this, they don't care where you or a family member go. They just want to emphasize with these commercials that they want you to get help somewhere. They are at the Harmony Foundation doing an incredible job. And you've talked about their 45-acre campus. They're building new facilities so that they can bring even more people who have problems up there. I really respect what the Harmony Foundation is doing.